The letter came on a Thursday. Thick envelope. No return address. Just my name. Typed in all caps. MIA Cartar. I was mid-sip. Coffee half cold. Laptop open. Email from work blinking. I almost didn't open it. But I did. God, I wish I hadn't. Cease and desist, it said. From my parents. Accusing me of theft. $120,000. They called it family savings. Claimed I took what was never mine. I laughed. Then I cried. That money was the grant I earned. Back in 2013. A full scholarship. Financial talent program. I remembered the night I got the email. Snow falling outside my dorm window. I'd never felt so seen, so proud. And now, Mom and Dad were suing me for it. Calling it theirs. I sat there, staring at the page, hands trembling. Luna, my cat, rubbed against my ankle. Even she could sense something cracked. They said I'd hidden the funds. I twisted truth with half memory. Pretended the grant belonged to them. But I remembered it all, clear as yesterday. Dad said, "You don't need a big school. Save it for your sister." Mom said, "Sophie has real talent. You'll understand one day." I gave up Yale. I chose community college. I thought I was doing the right thing. Turns out, they'd used my grant anyway. Sophie went to a private art school, while I juggled shifts and night classes. I'd never questioned it, until now. Now, they were dragging me to court. For money I never even touched. I reached for my phone, typed one name, Rachel. She picked up on the second ring. "Tell me everything," she said. And I did. All of it. Even the parts I hadn't said out loud before. The shame, the silence, the way I kept smiling, even when I felt erased. Rachel didn't speak for a beat. Then, quiet. "You're not crazy, Mia." I blinked. Tears rolled down my cheek. First time in years. "You didn't steal anything," she said. "But we're gonna take something back." My breath hitched. I nodded. "If this was you, would you walk away? Or fight for the truth?" Comment below. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, watching the shadows move across my ceiling. The letter sat on the kitchen counter, unopened again. Even though I'd read it twice, 3 times, my name, all caps, all blame, MIA Cartar, a 6USED, I got up around 5. No alarm. Just that weight in my chest again. Luna followed me into the kitchen. Her tail swished once against my ankle. Even she was quieter than usual. I turned on the lights. Fluorescent buzz. Cold tile on bare feet. The whole apartment felt they off. I made coffee like I always did. Dark roast. No cream. 2 sugars. Mug chipped on one side. The one Mom gave me 5 Christmases ago. Said it reminded her of independent girls who worked too hard. I didn't laugh then. I sure wasn't laughing now. The smell usually calmed me. This morning, it turned my stomach. I leaned on the counter. Stared out the window. Denver sky, washed out gray with streaks of dusty gold. Another Tuesday. But everything had changed. They were suing me. My own parents. Accusing me of taking what never belonged to me. 120 grand. That's what they claimed. That I stole it. That it was family savings. That's the part that broke me. Not the money, family. They used it like a weapon. I opened the Chase app. Savings 203.1756. Checking 745.88. Mortgage payment due Friday. Auto pay. I hadn't missed a single one. I worked 10 years for this life. Little by little. Brick by brick. This condo wasn't much. 1 bedroom, 2 windows. Creaky floor that woke me up every time I paced at night. But it was mine. I paid for it myself. Every inch. No co-signer. No help. Nobody helped when I was juggling 2 jobs and online classes. Nobody brought me coffee when I stayed up filing client tax forms. Nobody told me they were proud. But I told myself. That was enough. I turned toward the bookshelf. Second shelf. Photo from Yellowstone. I was 15. Braces. Windblown hair. Dad had his arm around Sophie. Mom held Sophie's sketch pad. I stood at the edge, half out of frame. It used to make me smile. Now, I couldn't look at it. They always said we were close. A tight family. But it was always three of them. And then me. Sophie was the baby, the artist, the bright light. I was the quiet one. The one who just got things done. Senior year. I'd gotten into Yale. Early decision, full ride. I still remembered the feeling. Opening that email, tears in my eyes. Snow outside the window. That little dorm printer sputtering out the acceptance letter. Ink smudged, but it didn't matter. I ran into the living room. Mom was painting Sophie's nails. Red. With tiny flowers. She looked up once. Yale. Her brow furrowed. Honey. That's across the country. Dad didn't even look up from his paper. He said, "You don't want to owe those people your soul. You'll end up in debt anyhow." I showed them the award letter, the grant, $128,000, full tuition, books, housing. Mom nodded, said, "Well, Sophie just got into Colorado Fine Arts. She'll need us nearby." That was the moment. The quiet shift, the unspoken messagey sacrifice. Again. So I did. I let it go. Told Yale no, signed up for community college instead. I stayed close. Drove Sophie to orientation, helped her with supplies. Cooked dinner on Mom's long work days. They said thank you once. Maybe twice. Then never again. 10 years later. They called the grant theirs. They filed a lawsuit. Claimed it was family money. That I moved it without consent. I hadn't moved anything. I'd never even touched it. It had gone straight to the school, but that didn't matter now. I opened my laptop. Work dashboard blinking. 4 unread emails. 1 deadline. I couldn't focus. Everything blurred. My own name didn't feel like mine anymore. I kept hearing Mom's voice. Sophie needs more support. She's more sensitive. You're the strong one, Mia. Strong. Like that meant I didn't bleed. Rachel's name lit up on my phone. We need to talk. Tonight. Please, I typed back, Savers 6 p.m., my place. I didn't want to talk. Didn't want to relive it. But I knew I had to. I stood up. Opened the fridge. Half a carton of oat milk. Leftover Trader Joe's salad. A single chocolate pudding cup. Even food felt tired. I poured myself a second coffee. This one I drank cold. Didn't matter. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I walked to the back closet. Pulled down the fire safe box. Documents. Photos. Old acceptance letters. The Yale one was still there. Still crisp. Still glowing in that strange blue ink. I held it. Longer than I meant to. I whispered, I was enough. Just once. To the paper. To myself. I sat on the couch. Luna jumped beside me. Curled into my side. And that's when it hit. They never saw me. I was their investment. Their fixer. Their fallback plan. Never their daughter. My stomach turned. I breathed through it. I pulled up Reddit. Finance forum. Typed, family suing over grant. Dozens of threads, stories like mine. Some worse, some quieter, all familiar. The kind of pain you don't post on Facebook. The kind of betrayal that happens slow. Then all at once. The dishwasher beeped. I didn't move. I held that Yale letter like a lifeline. Like a version of me still untouched by them. I wasn't ashamed anymore. Not tonight. I was angry, and just a little bit ready. Rachel showed up at 6:02. Tote bag on one shoulder. Coat still unbuttoned. Hair pulled back. She looked like she'd run straight from court. Probably had. Coffee? I asked. Voice flat. Not because I was cold. I was tired. She dropped her bag, kicked off her boots. No. Just you. What the hell's going on? I handed her the envelope. She scanned it fast, eyes narrowing, lips tight. I knew it. She muttered. I blinked. You knew what? She looked up. That this wasn't about money, it's about control. Rachel had that tone. Low. Dead calm. the one she used when cornering witnesses. She laid the letter flat on the table, ran one manicured nail down the text. They filed in family court. That's odd. They're not even trying to hide it. Calling it emotional damages. I shrugged. That's Mom. Emotional everything. Rachel didn't smile. Tell me about the grant. So I did. I told her about Yale. The snow, the email, the silence. The way Mom barely blinked. How much was it again? $128,000. Full ride. Housing, meals, the works. Rachel nodded slowly. And you never received the money directly? Nope. Went straight to the school. I saw the disbursement schedule. Which school? University of Colorado. Community college campus. She raised a brow. Wait. You didn't use it at Yale? I looked down. No. I turned Yale down. I stayed for Sophie. I thought. I didn't finish the sentence. Rachel didn't need me to. She pulled out her laptop. I want the award letter. Email confirmation. Anything. I stood up, walked to the bedroom, pulled out the fireproof box again. Here. I handed her the printout. Still smooth, still proud. Rachel scanned it. Nodded. This matches the award totals I've seen from their foundation. We'll need the original email too. Check timestamps. I sat back down. My hands were colder now. She typed fast. Paused. Has your mom ever talked about this grant online? I frowned. Maybe. She used to post on forums. Brag about Sophie mostly. Rachel's lips pressed together. What kind of forums? I thought for a second. Something like Parent Pride? She was on there a lot. Always talking about raising artists with purpose. Rachel's eyes lit up. That's it. Do you have her username? I shook my head. No clue. But she always used Sophie's middle name. Could be Larkmum or something. Rachel nodded. Typed. Paused. Then grinned. Found it. My stomach turned. The page loaded slow. Old forum layout. Bright colors. Flashing banner. She clicked a post. Dated May 2014. Sometimes, we have to make tough choices. When one child shows exceptional promise, we shift priorities. She's our future. She deserves our resources. I froze. Rachel read aloud. It wasn't easy. The older one had an offer. But she's resilient. She'll understand someday. I covered my mouth. No names. But it was me. It was always me. Rachel clicked to expand the thread. Dozens of replies. Some praising. Some questioning. All assuming she was a saint. Another post popped up. This one more recent. January 2020. It's hard when the strong one starts to question past decisions. We've given so much, and yet they ask for more. To Rachel turned to me. Mia. This is gold. It's not just gossip, it's motive. She's documenting her guilt. I couldn't speak. Rachel leaned in. This changes everything. They can't pretend it was a misunderstanding. She admitted it. In her own words. I shook my head. Why post that publicly? Rachel's voice dropped. Because people like your mom need to be seen. Praised. Justified. I closed the laptop. My chest burned. It was never about helping me. Rachel reached across the table. Put her hand on mine. I know. Silence. Then I asked the one thing I hadn't let myself say out loud. Do you think Sophie knows? Rachel didn't flinch. I think she knows enough. I nodded slowly. I remembered Thanksgiving. Her scarf. The way she said thank you like she was talking to a stranger. I had brushed it off. Maybe I shouldn't have. Rachel gathered her things. I'll print these tonight. Start drafting a motion. You might not need to go to trial. What happens now? We shift pressure back. Quietly. Legally. She smiled. Not soft. Sharp. Protective. That's what I do. She stood. But I stayed frozen. Rachel paused at the door. You okay? I laughed once. It came out cracked. Not really. She didn't push. You don't have to be. But you will be. Then she left. I walked to the window. Watched her car pull away. Watched the empty street after. The silence returned. But it wasn't the same. I opened my laptop again. Refreshed the parent pride thread. Watched my mother's words. The way she framed me. The strong one. The sacrifice. The forgotten. My throat tightened. Luna jumped into my lap. Warm. Solid. Still here, I whispered. I didn't ask for more. I never had. And yet, here we were. I waited until morning. Didn't sleep again. Didn't eat. I just sat. Laptop still open. Parent pride page still up. Mom's words glowing in that smug, pastel forum font. My fingers hovered over the phone. I stared at her number. I'd dialed it 1,000 times. Never for this. I pressed call. 3 rings. Then her voice. Bright. Performative. Mia! Good morning, honey. You're up early. I swallowed hard. Flat tone.
Did you write it?
Pause. Write what? I didn't play. The Post. Parent pride. May 2014. One child had an offer but the other deserved it more. Silence. Mia, I don't know what you're talking about. I cut her off. You do. She inhaled. Sharp. Defensive. That was a long time ago. So you did write it. Another beat. Then, it was a general reflection. Not about you. My stomach turned. It was about me, Mom. You used my grant. You wrote that I'd understand someday. Her voice shifted, colder. You're twisting my words. I never said that grant was yours. It had my name on it. It was a family opportunity. We made a choice, for Sophie's future. I felt like I'd been slapped. A choice, like I was an extra. Not a daughter. I laughed. It sounded hollow. You used my success to fund her dreams. No, we supported both of you.
You told me to give up Yale.
You could have said no. That did it. I stood up, pacing. I was 17. You were my parents. Well, maybe we trusted you to be mature. I stopped cold. She had flipped it. Again. You didn't trust me. You used me. You lied. I will not be spoken to like this. Then she hung up. Just like that. I stared at the phone. Call ended. 5 minutes, 48 seconds, felt like a lifetime. I called again. No answer. I called Dad. He picked up. Maya. His voice was low, wary, tired. I just talked to Mom, I said. Long silence. She hung up on me. He sighed. Not apologetic, not surprised. Just tired. Things were complicated back then. That's not good enough. I didn't want conflict. I wanted to scream. You let them use my grant. I didn't know the full amount. You signed the FAFSA forms. You saw it. Another sigh. You've always been so sensitive. That cracked me open. Sensitive. The word they always used when I noticed things. When I cried at birthdays. When I asked why Sophie got new shoes and I didn't. When I asked why I slept on the couch for 2 years while Sophie needed space for her paints. You made me give up everything, Dad. His voice got tight. We did what we thought was best. For who? Silence again? I hung up. This time I didn't cry. I just sat, my hands clenched, my lungs shallow. I walked to the closet. Pulled down the old quilt, the one Grandma made. It still smelled like cedar. I wrapped it around me. Sat on the floor. And the memories came fast. Age 9. Mom forgot to pick me up from piano lessons. 3 hours in the cold. Age 11. I asked for sneakers. Got Sophie's old ballet flats instead. Age 13. Sophie had a fever. I stayed home alone while they rushed her to urgent care. No one called. No one checked. Age 15. I gave up my room. They said she needed creative sanctuary. I slept in the hallway for 3 months. I used to think that was normal. Just being the older one, the reliable one. But now I saw it. I wasn't the strong one. I was just the silent one. The one they could erase without much noise. Luna curled into my lap, purring. Steady. I whispered. I don't think they ever chose me. She blinked slowly, like she understood. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Call me when you're ready. I'm drafting a notice of motion. They crossed a line. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then I opened my laptop. Went back to the parent pride thread. Scrolled down. One comment caught my eye. Was, how did your older daughter take it? Mom had replied. She's strong. Quiet. She knows her place in the family. My place. My place. I didn't scream. I didn't break things. I didn't fall apart. But something in me shifted. Like a door finally closing. For good. I opened my email. Typed 3 words to Rachel Oz. Let's do this. Then I hit send. The email came in at 8:41 a.m. Subject Request for 2013 Financial Award Confirmation from Scholarships Coup. Edu. Rachel had forwarded it with 2 words. It's official. I stared at my screen, mouse hovering over the attachment. Click. Open. CDF of 4 pages. A second University of Colorado. Hater seal. Typed lines. Signature at the bottom. S. The Financial Talent Scholars Program hereby confirms that the full tuition grant, totaling $128,000, was awarded solely to Ms. Mia Carter for use between 2013-2017. Funds were disbursed directly to the recipient's student account. At no point were funds released to third parties. My name. In bold. No mention of family. No shared sacrifice. Just me. I zoomed in. Read it again. Again. My heart beat slower, but heavier. I hadn't imagined it. I hadn't made it up. This grant, my future, was real. Mine. Not something I misunderstood. Not just a family contribution. My stomach twisted. Another attachment. I clicked. Us. Email from the scholarship director. Daza Plain. Direct. Us. We are able to confirm that the funds were strictly allocated to the named recipient, Mia Carter. This scholarship is non-transferable. No portion was ever assigned to other family members. I froze. Then I scrolled back up, looked at my name again. Typed neatly, permanent, undeniable. A sound escaped me. Half breath, half broken. Luna brushed against my ankle. She meowed once. Soft. As if checking on me. I hadn't realized I was crying. Not loudly. Just quiet tears. Streaming without permission. My phone buzzed. Rachel. I picked up. Hey, I whispered. Her voice was calm, steady, legal. I've got more. I listened. Found a Facebook post from your mom's timeline. Dated December 2013. She tagged Sophie. Wrote, sometimes we redirect blessings for those with true promise. Our youngest is starting strong. I didn't speak. Rachel continued. There's also a parent pride thread. A user asked about your award. She replied, my older daughter passed on it. We made a collective family decision to use the support more strategically. My breath caught. Passed on it. She made it sound like I tossed it out like junk mail. We made a collective decision. Rachel echoed. Except you weren't part of that decision, were you? I sank to the floor. Back against the cabinet. Phone to my ear. Eyes shut. No, I said. Voice then. Not even once. Rachel let the silence hold. She didn't rush. She knew. Do you need me to come by? I shook my head. Then realized she couldn't see me. No, I said. Not yet. Okay, I'm here. Click. Call ended. I stayed on the floor. The tiles cool through my pajamas. Luna curled near my leg, purring, unbothered. Steady. The email still glowed on my laptop. $128,000 and I let the number sink in. That money could have changed everything. I'd gotten into Yale. I had the grant. I was ready. I thought I'd done something right. And they told me to let it go. Said Sophie needed the spotlight. Said I'd understand someday. I did understand. Right now. I wasn't the one they bet on. I was the backup plan. The fixer. The big sister. The afterthought. I stood up, walked to the bookshelf, pulled out my old file folder. Faded green. Rubber band holding it closed. Inside, every job I'd applied to, rejected. Delayed, overqualified. Every tax return I'd filed alone. Every bill I paid myself. A copy of my Yale acceptance letter. Still pristine. Still folded neatly. Like hope. I touched it like it might vanish. But it didn't. Neither did the truth. I closed the folder, brought it to the desk, sat down, opened a new browser tab, typed, as, response to fraudulent family lawsuit. NAS. Quiet legal defense against inheritance claim. AS. Can family steal your scholarship funds?
I read.
Scrolled. Scanned. Not for comfort. For clarity. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't selfish. And I sure as hell wasn't weak. They could gaslight themselves into sainthood. But I had the paper. The posts. The proof. And this time, I had Rachel. I reached for my phone, opened our thread, took a picture of the printed PDF, sent it. Then the email from the program. Screenshot. Sent. Caption. Serve. Let's make it count. I hit send. Then I sat back, stared at the ceiling. They thought I wouldn't fight. Because I never had before. But they forgot something. Even quiet daughters remember everything. I sent the files to Rachel just after noon. Screenshot of the email, the full PDF, photos of the Facebook post, the parent pride thread, everything. She replied in minutes. Received. I'm filing the response today. You're doing great. I stared at those words. Doing great. I didn't feel great. I felt hollow. Like my chest was full of fog. No weight, no direction. Just gray. I closed the laptop, stood at the window. Denver looked sharp that day. Crisp air. Cars moving like clockwork. A world that didn't care what families did behind closed doors. I thought I'd feel rage. I didn't. I felt like I was finally out of the fog, but standing alone in a clearing. No cover. No company. Just truth. And truth is cold. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. S. Hey, it's Sophie. Gee, I sat down. Heart caught mid-beat. We hadn't spoken in a year? Maybe more. The last time was Thanksgiving. She brought candles. Called them intention gifts. He said mine smelled like stability. I thought it was thoughtful. Now I wasn't sure. Another text followed. Mom said you're going legal. Can we not do this? I stared at the screen. Not do this. As if I'd started a fight. As if being sued was something I picked for fun. I didn't reply. Another text. Vice. I mean, you always got so intense about stuff. Just breathe. Okay. I dropped the phone. That was it. The switch. The weight. The confirmation I didn't want, but already knew. She wasn't on my side. Maybe never had been. I bent down, picked up the phone with slow fingers. Typed, us. They used my name. My future. And said it wasn't mine. That doesn't feel small to me. Sent. Read. Typing. Thank them to you always made things bigger than they were. You're stronger than this. Stronger. There it was again. That cursed word. Strong to silent. Strong to convenient. Strong disposable. I didn't reply. I just sat. Hands in my lap. Eyes burning. I thought about the time she broke a ceramic bowl when we were kids. I took the blame. Told Mom I knocked it over. Sophie hugged me after. Said, "You're the best big sister in the world." I'd believed her. I really did. I stood up. Grabbed the quilt from the couch. Wrapped it around me like armor. Luna patted over. Settled at my feet. I whispered, I think they all just needed someone quiet. Someone to absorb the noise. The blame. The guilt. Someone to vanish politely so they could shine louder. I looked around the apartment. My space. My walls. Every inch paid in overtime and long nights. They hadn't touched this. Not yet. But they tried. And I wasn't letting them anymore. I opened a new note on my phone. Typed out the timeline. Every year. Every shift. Every job I took instead of a dream I wanted. 2013 turned down Yale. 2014 gave up bedroom for Sophie's art space. 2016 skipped applying to grad school to help cover Sophie's semester abroad. Every choice. Every silence. I didn't write it to send, just to see it. To face it. I let out a long, shaky breath. Then I said the quietest, strongest thing I'd said in years. No more. Not in anger. Not in revenge. Just truth. If I didn't speak now, when would I? If I didn't protect what I earned, who would? If I stayed quiet, what would I become? I pulled out the printer from the cabinet. Dusted it off. Loaded paper. Printed Rachel's response draft. Read it line by line. Legal terms, direct, precise, unapologetic. Just like I needed to be. I clipped it together. Placed it in a manila envelope. Stared at it. That envelope was years in the making. It held more than pages. It held every time I said, "It's okay," when it wasn't. Every time I smiled at Sophie's win while mine was being erased. It was the weight of 10 years folded into 12 sheets. And it was mine, my quiet revenge. My version of a scream. I stood at the door, shoes on, coat zipped, envelope in hand. I paused. Looked back at Luna. She blinked slow. Solidarity in fur. I nodded, walked out, down the stairs, into the cold, toward justice. Not just legal. Personal. For every woman who was told she was strong, so they wouldn't have to care. For every daughter who was the good one, until she asked for fairness. For every version of me still waiting to be chosen. I was choosing myself now, and that was enough. If you've ever been silenced by family, or made to feel like your pain was an overreaction, this story is for you. You're not too much. You're not dramatic. You're not wrong. You're just finally standing up. And we're with you. Comment below if you've lived it. Or if you're ready to break the silence. Saw Rachel came over that Thursday. No makeup. Sweatshirt. Laptop under one arm. Eyes sharp. She didn't hug me. She didn't have to. We sat at my dining table. Legal pad between us. Printer humming in the background. She opened her laptop. Pulled up the case file. I've drafted a formal response. With the email, award letter, screenshots. I've also requested financial disclosure from them. If they push forward, they'll have to show where the funds went. I nodded. My fingers were cold, even in gloves. I didn't say much. I was listening. Rachel looked up. You sure you're ready for this? Yes. She studied me. Not for doubt. For fire. I met her gaze. I'm not doing this for revenge. She raised a brow. No. No. I'm doing this because I don't want to explain myself for the rest of my life. She smiled. Small. Proud. We got to work. She walked me through everything. How to file. What would happen if they responded? What if they didn't? What if they tried to settle? What if they deny everything? I asked. Rachel shrugged. They will. But paper doesn't lie. We printed duplicates. Made 3 sets, labeled folders, court copy, personal record, contingency. I added post-its color-coded. I didn't do it for fun. I did it because I wanted control over something. For once. We moved quietly. Rachel spoke in facts. I stayed in silence. The truth sat between us like a weight. But it didn't crush. It held. At one point, she paused. You want to see something? She opened a new tab. Typed. Scrolled. Clicked on an old post from 2016. It was from Mom, still on her public Facebook. Photo of Sophie at a gallery, smiling, standing next to a canvas. Caption, Al worth it. Every shift, every choice, our girl has become everything we dreamed of. I read it twice. Then again. Every choice. She meant Yale. She meant me. Rachel didn't say anything. She didn't have to. I reached over. Clicked the tab closed. That part's done, I said. Rachel nodded. We packed everything into a single envelope. Thick. Sealed. She handed it to me. You can deliver it in person tomorrow. Clerk's office. Or I can. I will. You sure? I want to. She stood, gathered her coat, looked at me once before opening the door. You don't owe them kindness. But you owe yourself clarity. I nodded. Door clicked shut. The apartment fell quiet. Luna hopped on the table, nudged the envelope with her paw. I stared at it. Inside was my story. In documents. Emails. Paper. But it was still mine. I stood, walked to the cabinet, pulled out my old messenger bag, put the envelope inside, zipped it slowly. The sound felt final. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat, hands in my lap, heart still, mind clear. For years, I'd let them write the narrative. Sensitive, difficult, hard to include. When really, I was just too aware, too unwilling to forget. Now, I didn't need their rewrite. I had facts. And facts didn't ask for approval. The next morning, I put on my blazer. Black. Simple. Not to impress, to affirm. Printed 2 photos. 1 my Yale acceptance. 2 the award email. Slipped them in my pocket. Not to show, to hold. I stood at the courthouse steps, the envelope in hand. The wind was cold. But I wasn't. Inside, the clerk took the papers, stamped the response, scanned the attachments. I'll issue confirmation within 24 hours, she said. I nodded. Anything else? I shook my head. No. Didn't look back. Outside, I paused on the steps, hands in pockets. Sun catching the top of my collar. People moved past me. None of them knew. None of them had to. I reached into my coat, touched the edge of the printout, ran my thumb across the line. Dear Mia Carter. I had fought to keep that name. Now I was reclaiming what came with it. I walked home slowly. Stopped at a cafe. Got a coffee. No cream. 2 sugars. Same cup. Different reason. At home, I placed the receipt from the clerk's office in my desk drawer. Labeled it, response filed December 12. I sat down. Looked around the apartment. Nothing had changed. But everything had. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't made a scene. But I'd drawn a line. Quiet. Sharp. They might not hear it now. But they would feel it later. The absence of my silence. It started with a missed call. Mom, Tuesday morning. 9:06 a.m. I saw her name flash on the screen. Didn't move. Let it ring. Watched the seconds tick. Then silence. No voicemail, no apology, no explanation. Just silence. 2 hours later, a text. Why are you doing this? No greeting, no punctuation. Just 6 words that dripped with blame. I didn't reply. Not because I was unsure. Because I was done explaining my pain to people who'd never cared to understand it. Another message. We've done nothing but support you. I blinked. Support. That's what they called it. Giving away my scholarship, telling me Yale was too far. Using my name, my award, to pay for someone else's dreams. Support. I put the phone down, turned it over, let the silence stretch. At noon, another call. Dad this time. His name made my chest tighten. Not from love. From memory. The way he used to sigh when I asked for things. How he said, "Don't start." Before I even opened my mouth, his voice had always been the pause between blame and dismissal. I didn't answer. I let the laundry finish tumbling. Matched socks. Folded towels. Small control. Little victories. At 3:14 p.m. an email. Subject from Sophie. Sender Sophie. Carter, Arch Mail. I knew that address. She used it for her Etsy prints. Little watercolors with poetic quotes. Once, she'd made one that said, "Love doesn't keep score." I'd bought it. Paid full price. Framed it. It was still on my wall. I didn't know why. I opened the email. Hey. I'm not taking sides, I just think this whole thing got way bigger than it needed to. I know Mom's not perfect, but you're kind of overreacting. We're family. Can we please just move past this? I read it twice. Then again. No apology. No ownership, just the usual script, let it go. Don't make noise. We're family. I closed the tab. Didn't respond. Didn't delete it either. Letting it sit there, undisturbed, felt more powerful. That night I ate pasta standing up. Didn't turn on the TV. Didn't check my phone again. Luna followed me room to room, like she knew. At 5:56 p.m. Rachel called. I answered on the first ring. Her voice was calm, but firm. You sitting down? I am. They dropped it? I stopped breathing. Only for a second. They what? They withdrew the complaint. Filed a motion to dismiss. I got confirmation from the clerk 20 minutes ago. I closed my eyes. They gave up. Rachel paused. No. They surrendered. The words sank deep. Not because it meant I won, but because it meant they knew they were wrong. They realized they had no case. Rachel continued. The email, the scholarship documents, your mother's public posts, it all adds up. I didn't speak. Not right away. I looked around the room. Everything was the same. My chipped coffee mug on the table. The faint scent of laundry. The radiator humming. But something inside me had shifted. They dropped it. No apology. No phone call. No admission. Just silence. They're not used to you fighting, Rachel said gently. I nodded, even though she couldn't see. No, they're not. She let out a breath. You okay? I looked out the window. Denver winter. Dry sky. Streetlights coming on one by one. Yeah, I am. We stayed on the phone a few minutes longer. Reviewed the court paperwork. She sent me a PDF of the dismissal notice. I printed it, held the warm paper in my hands, read every line, twice, filed it in my drawer, right behind the labeled folders, tiaras. Then I sat. Just sat. No celebration. No music, no wine. Just quiet. Luna jumped onto the table. Settled beside the printer. I reached out. Scratched behind her ear. She blinked. We stayed like that for a while. A still life of aftermath. The phone didn't ring again that night. Mom didn't call. Dad didn't try again. Sophie stayed silent. I thought I'd feel empty. Instead, I felt like I'd reclaimed something. Not vengeance, not victory, just my place in my own story. I made tea, dark chamomile. Added honey this time. Let the steam rise. Sat on the couch, quilt around my shoulders. Mug in both hands. My name was mine again. Not attached to shame. Not borrowed for convenience. Not hidden under someone else's ambition. Just mine. I took a sip. Exhaled. They could rewrite their version. They probably already had. Maybe Mom would say I misunderstood. Maybe Dad would say I'd always been too dramatic. Maybe Sophie would post a watercolor with a passive caption about letting go. Let them. Some truths don't need defending. They just need to be lived. And I was ready to live mine. No permission. No permission needed. No forgiveness owed. At least not to them. I closed my eyes. Heard the page of the printer settle. Felt the warmth of the quilt. Heard Luna's steady breath. My phone lit up once. New message. From an old friend I hadn't talked to in years. F. Heard what happened. Just wanted to say, proud of you. I smiled. Small. But it reached my eyes. Then, for the first time in weeks, I slept. Not because everything was fixed, but because I was no longer carrying a lie. They could keep their stories. I had the truth. And the truth was quiet, but complete. It had been 37 days. Since the case was dismissed. Since the last email from Sophie. Since my parents' silence hardened into permanence. The quiet was no longer new. It was part of the furniture. I moved to Seattle early March, a small one-bedroom, 3rd floor. Overlooks Green Lake and a street of birch trees. The ceilings slope. The windows fog easy. The floors creak when it rains. But it's mine. Most mornings I sit by the window with black coffee. Watch buses pass. Sometimes listen to strangers laugh on the sidewalk. Noise that doesn't need me to participate. Only witness. I like that. I unpacked slowly, box by box, room by room. I brought only what I wanted to see again. Left the rest in Denver. Some things aren't worth moving twice. The final court documents came by mail. Rachel had packed them neatly. Stamped. Dismissed, labeled, complete. I read them once. Filed them in a drawer. Didn't look back. I stopped checking my parents' socials. Unfollowed Sophie. Not in anger. In peace. Seattle gave me rhythm. Walks by the lake, Trader Joe's every Thursday, a tiny flower pot on the windowsill. And every Sunday, I spoke. Into a 159 microphone I bought online, balanced it on a folded towel to kill the echo. Named the folder on my desktop as Unclaimed Daughters. No intro music, no script. Just me, talking like I wished someone had talked to me. The first episode was 10 minutes. Voice shaking, breath shallow. Fingers trembling over the trackpad. Hi. If you're here, I just want to say, this isn't revenge. This is what happens when quiet daughters stop accepting silence as love. I didn't cry. But I came close. I told the story without names. No pointing. No rage. Only truth. Truth dressed in the small things, the scholarship that wasn't really mine. The seed I gave up, the bedroom I lost, the apology I never got. By Tuesday, the inbox had messages. I thought I was alone. This happened to me, too. Sex. You said what I've never been able to say. One woman wrote, I haven't spoken to my sister in 12 years. And for the first time, I don't feel crazy about that. I sat with that one. Read it 3 times. Then whispered, you're not. Episode by episode it grew. Quietly. Like moss. I didn't market. Didn't pitch. People found it anyway. Women 40, 50, 60 years old. Some with grown daughters of their own. Some still stuck in houses that didn't see them. I read every message. Even when they hurt. Even when they mirrored what I hadn't admitted yet. Some were from younger women, just starting to question the support that always cost them something sacred. Some from men, soft-spoken, honest, wounded. And some were just one sentence. I thought it was just me. That's the one that stuck. Because I had thought that too. For a long time, I kept recording. Every Sunday night, topics like, what they called strong was just silent. Look, you don't owe them Thanksgiving. Apologies that never came. Your name still belongs to you. I didn't scream. Didn't dramatize. I just said things out loud that had lived quiet for too long. And it worked. Not because it went viral, because it made someone feel real. Like this one message asked I sat in my car after work and listened. Didn't even go inside, just sat and let your voice tell me I wasn't forgotten. That's why I started it. Not for closure. Not for claps. For legacy, to leave a record. That I existed, that I knew what happened, and I said it. Even if no one clapped back. Even if no one called me brave. Last night, I walked the lake trail. Cold wind, wet leaves, muffled footsteps behind me. A woman passed by, maybe 55, gray curls, phone in her coat pocket, AirPods in. And for 1 second I heard it, my voice. From her phone. Just a fragment ours. And if they call you difficult, that means they noticed you stopped shrinking. Shh. She looked up. Met my eyes. We didn't say anything. She smiled. I smiled back. That was enough. She kept walking. So did I. Some stories don't end. They echo. In other people. In their quiet fights. In their unexpected courage. This was mine. But if you're reading this, maybe it's yours too. If you've ever been asked to stay silent. When the silence cost you your name, your joy, your dignity, you're not alone. This space is for us. The ones they didn't pick. But who walked out anyway. Second, if this feels like your story, drop your voice below. Let us hear you. We're still here.